If space constitutes the world in a sense which we have yet to determine, it cannot be surprising that, in our foregoing ontological characterization of the being of what is within the world, we already had to regard that being as something in space too. This spatiality of things at hand has not yet been grasped phenomenally in an explicit way, and its interconnection with the structures of being of what is at hand has not yet been demonstrated. That is now the task. To what extent have we already bumped up against this spatiality in our characterization of what is at hand? We spoke of what is initially zunetzt at hand. This means not only beings which we encounter first swayest before others, but means at the same time beings that are nearby, in der nah. Things at hand of everyday dealings have the character of nearness nah. To be exact, this nearness of useful things is already hinted at in the term which expresses their being, in handiness. Beings at hand have their various nearnesses which are not ascertained by measuring distances. Their nearness is determined by the handling, and use that circumspectly calculate. Circumspection of taking care of things at the same time establishes what is thus near with respect to the direction in which useful things are always accessible. The structured nearness of useful things means that they do not simply have a place in space, objectively present somewhere, but as useful things are essentially installed, put in their place, set up, and put in order. Useful things have their place, or else they lie around, which is fundamentally different from merely occurring in a random spatial position. The actual place is defined as the place of this useful thing in terms of a totality of the interconnected places of the context of useful things at hand in the surrounding world. Place and the multiplicity of places must not be interpreted as the where of a random being present of thing. Place is always the definite over there, and the there of a useful thing belonging there. In each and every case belonging there corresponds to the useful character of what is at hand, that is, to its relevant belonging to a totality of useful thing. But a where-to in general, in which the positional totality is referred to a context of useful things, underlies the positional belonging somewhere of a totality of useful things as the condition of their possibility. This where-to of the possible belonging somewhere of useful things, which is circumspectly held in view in advance and in heedful dealings, we call the region. In the region of means not only in the direction of, but also in the orbit of something that lies in that direction. The kind of place which is constituted by direction and remoteness nearness is only a mode of the latter is already oriented toward a region, and within that region. Something akin to a region must already be discovered if there is to be any possibility of referring and finding the places of a totality of useful things available to circumspection. This regional orientation of the multiplicity of places of what is at hand constitutes the aroundness umhaft, the being around uns harem us of beings encountered initially in the surrounding world umwelt. There is never a three-dimensional multiplicity of possible positions initially given which is then filled out with objectively present thing. This dimensionality of space is still veiled in the spatiality of what is at hand. The above is what is on the ceiling, the below is what is on the floor, the behind is what is at the door. All these wheres are discovered and circumspectly interpreted on the paths and ways of everyday dealings. They are not ascertained and catalogued by the observational measurement of space. Regions are not first formed by things present together, but are always already at hand in individual places. The places themselves are assigned to what is at hand in the circumspection of taking care of things, or else we come across them as such. Thus things constantly at hand, with which circumspect being in the world reckons from the outset, have their place. The where of their handiness is taken account of in taking care, and is oriented toward other handy thing. Thus the sun whose light and warmth we make use of every day has its circumspectly discovered, eminent places in terms of the changing usability of what it gives us, sunrise, noon, sunset, midnight. The places of these things, which are constantly at hand in various ways, and yet uniformly, become accentuated indicators of the regions contained in them. These regions of the sky, which do not yet need to have any geographical meaning at all, give beforehand the where-to for every particular development of regions which can be occupied by places. The house has its sunny side and its shady side. This provides the orientation for dividing up the rooms and arranging them according to their useful character. Churches and graves, for example, are laid out according to the rising and setting of the sun, the regions of life and death, which determine Dasein itself, with regard to its almost possibilities of being Saintsmöglichkeiten in the world. In taking care, Dasein, which is in its very being concerned about that being, discovers beforehand the regions which are each in a decisive relevance. The discovery of regions beforehand is determined by the totality of relevance for which what is at hand is set free as something encountered. The handiness which belongs to each region beforehand has, as the being of what is at hand, the character of inconspicuous familiarity in a more primordial sense. The familiarity itself becomes visible in a conspicuous manner only when what is at hand is discovered circumspectly in the deficient mode of taking care. And we do not find something in its place. The region of that place often becomes explicitly accessible as such for the first time. Space, which is discovered in circumspect being in the world, as the spatiality of a totality of useful things, belongs to beings themselves as their place. Bare space is still veiled. Space is split up into, but this spatiality has its own unity by virtue of the world-like totality of relevance of what is spatially at hand. The surrounding world does not arrange itself in a previously given space, but rather its specific worldliness articulates in its significance the relevant context of a totality of places that have been circumspectly assigned. In each case, the world discovers the spatiality of space belonging to it. The fact that what is at hand can be encountered in its space of the surrounding world is ontically possible only because Dasein itself is spatial with regard to its being in the world.